Hey guys, welcome back for another week of the NHL Power Rankings with the Ice Hockey Aussies. We'll get straight into the action. Number 32, I have no change. It's still the San Jose Sharks.
Ooh, I made a change, so 31 for me.
Yeah, look, I considered it. I really did. But they before the win at the end of the week, they had what? They'd lost something like 11 or 12 in a row or whatever it was. Yeah, it wasn't
Oh yeah,
great.
yeah, it's a big move. Going to 31.
Yeah, yeah, massive, massive. They've skyrocketed. But look, no, not a terrible week. They have some tough competition. They lose 6-3 to the Dallas Stars, who are on an absolute tear at the moment. 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild, and then they get a really good win 4-0 against the St. Louis Blues, um, which is a loss that the Blues really couldn't have. But yeah, really good win by the Sharks nonetheless, and it breaks their winless drought. But for me, it just wasn't enough. Even though the team that I have at 32 have been god awful as well lately.
Yeah, that's basically it. Anaheim Ducks being at 32 for me.
Yep.
That's why I made the move. They're 10 points ahead of them. Anaheim above San Jose in regards to points on the table. They both have the same last 10. It's just Anaheim's gameplay in a sense. I just don't like it. They play 4 games this week. OT loss against Tampa. Shut out 4-0 by Kraken. Then they face Kraken again, lose 4-2, and then they get 6-1 by Edmonton. So, pretty abysmal week, all things considered. Good point against Tampa, but it's just the gameplay that I see. They only had 12 shots in the 4-0 against Kraken, and they consistently outshot every game. Funnily enough, not against Tampa, but I just don't like what I see on the ice. It's just so many defensive turnovers to the slot for an
Yeah.
easy shot. I feel sorry for Gibson because I don't no matter who you put in that net, nobody's saving what's coming at him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think if the Ducks didn't have a couple of the extra players they probably do over the Sharks in that young talent pool of theirs, they would probably be, yeah, they'd be in a very similar position as the Sharks with, less than 20 minutes at the moment because their gameplay is just disgusting. I think they've got, I know they don't have the greatest roster, but I think they've got a good enough roster to be playing better than what they are. So I'm really starting to question whether or not it's a coaching issue, um, or if it's just, yeah, the personnel maybe aren't as talented as what some might think.
Hmm.
All right, 30 for me, dropping probably as low as I've had them this season, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, that's what I've done too.
Yeah, look, not too good. I think they're 2-6-2 in their last 10. They're falling away, but at the end of the day, they've really got not much to play for at the moment, other than a bit of pride, I guess. But they get a 6-2 loss against the Coyotes, 3-2 loss against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-3 in shootout. So look, 2 from 6 points. They were competitive against the Pittsburgh Penguins in both games, getting one win and not getting the other. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just one of those seasons to forget. Another one, 2 in a row for the Columbus Blue Jackets now. I think they'll just be looking forward to, especially with Fantilli probably set to miss the rest of the season. I think it's just to get to the end of the season as unscathed as possible and try and get as high of a draft pick as possible. Try and get some, make some moves in the off season and see if you can't turn it around next year because they've got the pieces. They've just got to, I think, yeah, add a couple more.
Yeah,
Probably sure up that D.
I don't think they're far away from it, honestly. And
No.
I think they're probably maybe a really good coach away from it, just
Hmm.
with what they have on the roster. Um,
Yeah, I think they've got the roster. They just need a couple more pieces.
mm,
Probably a better center.
but
Obviously,
I feel like they can
yeah,
replace Pittsburgh Capitals and whatnot in the next couple of years easily.
yeah.
Alrighty, on to 29, moving down the Seattle Kraken.
Hey, same here.
Yeah, so another team that's been in pretty poor form. I forget what their last 10 is. It's something like 262. But
Mm.
this week, 5-1 loss against Montreal. They had 37 shots, kept Montreal to 17, but you conceded 5. They 4-0 Anaheim, keeping them to 12 shots. They face Anaheim again, win 4-2, and then they go and get blanked by Dallas, 3-0, and only having 17 shots. So easy week, all things considered. 3 out of the 4 games, and yeah, they perform one game though, and granted it's against lower end teams, but then they just won't perform in another, and that is really their downfall. There's no cohesion, or just system that's kind of stayed there from last year. It's kind of all fallen apart.
No, 100%. They're not playing well at all, and yeah, it's clearly showing. All right, number 28 for me. Moving up a few spots, I got the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, that's as far as they go for me as well.
Yeah, I mean, what 6-4-0? Jeez, what a time to stop the tank, right?
Yeah, what a way to ruin
Um,
your draft prospects.
I
Lottery.
know, right? Guys, you got to calm down, otherwise you're going to be ahead of the Ducks. So, I mean, look, positive things. They're probably not getting any higher third to bottom. So it's not too bad, and I don't think the Sharks are really going to catch them. So yeah, I mean, look, 3-1 win against the Calgary Flames, 2-0 loss to the Senators, and a 5-1 win against the Philadelphia Flyers. So you know, not a bad week at all. There, it's not. That's not really a week of chumps either. I know Flames and Flyers are on a bit of a slide at the moment, but they've been all right for most of the season.
Yeah, but
Ottawa,
that's what I was going to say. Their wins are against teams that are kind of blowing up.
yeah, it's not like they were playing the Sharks and the Ducks and
Mm,
the Blue Jackets, and they've won 6 games against those teams. They've actually beaten the decent opponents, although I think two of their wins have come against the Ducks, I believe. Um, but still, they've gotten some wins against some decent sides and find themselves in a bit of form on the back end of the season, just to give their fans a little bit of hope. You know that something better is coming.
mm. Right, Team 27 for me, not moving. Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, same with me.
And look, they had a good week, but it was just really hard to move them any higher. They 5-1 Kraken, only the 17 shots. They get a 2-1 win in regulation against Colorado, 4-1 win against Philly with only 17 shots, and then they get 3-0 by Carolina. So, look, it was honestly good mixed bag of results, but I think they were just so low. Like even with the 3 wins, they're still 4-4-2 in their last 10. Kind of shows
Yeah.
you how recent their form has been in
Hmm.
the poor category. And look, they're in a bounce back, but too little, too late. It's for next season. But I think I still don't mind the style of gameplay they play when they
Yeah.
play it, when they get the chance to play it anyway.
Yeah, it's consistency. They're young. They've got a few injuries. It's yeah. I think they're not too far away from it. They just need, I think, a better goaltending, few more pieces on the blue line, and then just experience in that young talent. And then yeah, they'll be good. All right, let's go to 26. I have the Arizona Coyotes.
Whew. Yeah, done the same.
Look at us, only really differing with that 32 and 31. Either we're extremely stupid, or we're both onto something here. Um, look, it could be the first. Let's be honest.
Leave a comment below what
Um,
you think.
oh, don't open that fucking bag of rabbits. Um, bloody hell. All right, so they get a 4-2 loss against the Dallas Stars. 6-2 win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. 8-4 win against the Nashville Predators. I believe that ended the 17 game point streak as well. So, what a time to turn up. But then a 5-8 loss to the New York Rangers. So, you were talking about mixed bag before, and that's a bit of the same, a mixed bag of tricks there. But yeah, look, they play three teams that are right up there. They were all, three of those teams were in our top 10 last week. Um, for power rankings, and they end up losing to two of them, but they get a win against one. So it's not like they had an easy week, but they still come out 500. So it's not a bad week. They move down, I think, more because other teams are doing more than what they're doing. I didn't mind their week. They probably just conceded a few more goals than they would have liked to,
Mm.
but it's not overly that bad.
All right. For the shocker one this week, 25 Detroit Red Wings.
Ooh. Yeah, this is where we differ a little bit, but mine's 23, not too much difference.
No, you didn't want too much of the fan base hate, but it's all right. Yeah, look, they're weak. They OT loss in against Washington 4-3. They get shut out 4-0 by Carolina, and they go to OT shootout and losing shootout against Florida 3-2. So decent teams they've come up against don't really get the results. Only get 2 points out of 6. But this is a team that needs all the points they can get because they're in that playoff race. 3-5-2 in the last 10. They've looked kind of abysmal for probably maybe a month now. It's been
Hmm.
just on a slow decline. And look, granted, it was a tough week, but they need results, and it's not looking good for the playoffs at this point.
Nope.
So depending if any other teams capitulate like a Washington and Philly, but I I struggle to see how they're going to make it at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the sad part about it because Philly have kind of sort of they're on a massive slide as well. So if Detroit had just won, an extra two games over this period, last 10, they're in the playoffs. They're in the wild cards.
Yep.
They're in the box seat, so they've really let an opportunity go. And yeah, it's almost like no one wants that final wild card spot in the East point because they're all playing absolutely dog shit, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
besides Washington, who just scrapes away points here and there.
yeah, exactly. Well, you know, let's talk about another team in that dog shit final wild card race. The New York Islanders,
Okay.
24th. Yeah, look, I just really don't like the way these guys have been playing. Like, they're another team that has a perfect chance to sort of potentially grab that wild card spot, and they've just not done it. They a 4-0 loss against the New Jersey Devils. A 3-2 win against the Florida Panthers, which was good, albeit. But then a 4-1 loss against Tampa Bay Lightning. So, they had that win against Florida. But the other two games were absolutely crap. Um, excuse the language, but honestly, it's abysmal. And they're 2-7-1, I think, 10. Um, yeah. Look, they've got games in hand, I believe, on teams, but I just don't see I don't think these guys are good. I don't think they're good enough, even if they were to grab a position to do anything in the playoffs.
Mm.
To be perfectly honest, I feel like whoever takes that final wild card spot is almost just a fill in. Like they're just a team to fill in and to the second round. So whoever gets them in the first round is pretty much automatic entry. I know that's not how the playoffs work, and I know we've seen some crazy things, but none of these teams are in any sort of form to be going into the playoffs.
Alrighty. On to 23, going to the other side of the conference, going to Calgary Flames.
Oh, oh, I got them at 22.
And look, this is another team that's been on a slide. This
Mhm.
week, 4-1 loss against Buffalo, 3-1 loss against Chicago. That's the big upset there. Um, St. Louis, 5-3 loss, keeping St. Louis to 19 shots, but still managing to lose. Keeping LA to 18 shots, but this time winning 4-2. So that is the one win and only points they get for the week is the game against LA. It's kind of the game that you wouldn't expect them to win, and you'd expect them to win the other three. And that's kind of just sums up Calgary's season, just not winning the games they should. And
Yep.
look, they had what 2 games where they kept the opponent under 20. It's good. They have been playing better, but yeah, it's just you need to get the results, and losing to Chicago and Buffalo is not is not the way you're going to get playoffs.
No,
Yeah.
100% on the money there. Uh, all right, 24 for me. I got the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Ooh, this is probably one of the biggest differences we had in a while. They're at 20 for me,
20.
and it
Yeah, yeah.
and
Look,
it's
I
not a
get it.
not a big 20. I have from 18 to probably Chicago. I reckon you can almost flip these teams any way you want. At this point, that
Oh,
they've all been horrible.
100%. They have all been so bad. I think the 18, like 18, 19, 20, is the most undeserved outside of the bottom 20
Yeah,
that we've had probably all season. It's insane. But yeah, look, they have a very good week, and I really could have pushed them up. But at the same time, I'm a little bit pissy with them, to be honest. Like,
yeah. I'm the
4
I'm the
5
same.
OT loss. 4-5 OT loss. They were 4-0 up. I get Colorado are good, extremely good.
Comeback Kings.
But 4-0 up. We're 4-0 up and you lose 5. Like, that's just disgusting. So they get a point there, which is great. Then they beat the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1. But again, 22 shots to 39. They got outplayed. It was 2-1 until 2 empty netters. So it's a good win, but it's not a 4-1 win. It's they won 2-1 and they held on. They played well enough defensively. 3-2 win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Probably should have won by more. And then they lose 3-4 in shootout to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they get 6 from 8 points, but nothing about this week was convincing, in my opinion. And so it's good in terms of points wise, but it doesn't fill me with confidence that this is the start of something for them. This is the start of,
Yeah,
an insane next 9 games that's going to see them, break into that final wild card spot.
yeah. Well, look, Latang's looked horrible. They have a few, Malkin's looked ordinary. Carter, all this stuff, but Crosby's been on fire. It's a shame, and yeah, that team needs some work. They were in some big trouble. They move up 5 for me purely because they did all right in regards to results. Really should have got that win against Avs, and it was just the other teams capitulating at the same time. So
Yeah,
it looks like a big move, but it's really not.
yeah,
Alrighty, 22 for me, Philadelphia. Moving on down,
yeah. They're 21 for me.
and look, I've liked them during the season. They had a style. They play it. They lose to Florida 4-1, keeping Florida 15 shots. Basically, this season, you have under 20 shots, you will win the game. Uh, they go to the Rangers, have 15 more shots than the Rangers, and they lose an OT 6-5. Then Montreal, keep them under 20, lose 4-1. And then Chicago lose 5-1. So my big concern this week, they pretty much outshot their opponent every game. That was the good
Mhm.
thing. My concern is their losses, in a sense, like their
Yeah,
straight losses, were they only scored 1 goal besides the Rangers game, and that is my big concern. And they are leaking goals. We know, Carter Hart's not there anymore, but yeah, they've kind of really slid off now. I forget where the last 10 is. I'll have a look. It's 3-5-2,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah,
I feel like they can turn it around past Washington, but at
yeah.
this rate, can't see it.
Yeah, and you can forgive the Florida and the Rangers losses because I still think they played well in those games. 33 shots to 15, you lose 4-1. Like, you 42 shots to 27, lose 6-5 in overtime. They played well, but it's the 4-1 loss against Montreal, 5-1 loss against Chicago. They're 2 games that you cannot lose
Yeah,
at this point of the season. That's 4 points that they should have had, which almost guarantees them a playoff point, and they drop it. It's almost Pittsburgh esque of last season, right at the end, where they lose to Chicago and lose to another bottom end team and end up missing out on playoffs by a point. And it was like, well, all you had to do is beat Chicago, and you're in the playoffs. Like that's, I almost feel like that's what that game is. Like that game, those two games there almost signed their death warrant. Like that's it. That's the Philadelphia Flyers done for the season. And I know that's crazy considering they're still in a wild card spot. But those two games, yeah, they almost for me put a line through the Philadelphia Flyers. But all right, let's move on. We got at 20. I've got the Buffalo Sabres.
18 for me. Once again, this is a part of the group that's 18 and lower that
Mate, I
don't really deserve it.
no, I agree with you. It's absolute insanity to be honest. Um, Even the fact that they're 20th for me is just crazy. Considering, but they get a 4-1 win against Calgary Flames. They lose 6-2 to the Ottawa Senators, a 5-2 win against the New Jersey Devils, and then a 3-0 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs on the back to back. Um, yeah, look, what 4 out of a possible 8 points. They're playing okay, not great, but again, I think it's just the fact that they're playing slightly better than those around them. They're not
Mm.
playing great hockey, but they're playing slightly better
Yeah.
than the teams that are capitulating right now. That's the only way I can describe it.
Well,
Like
basically,
they're
yeah.
not.
If you're above 500 in your last 10 at this point, you're above like Philly and lower,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially.
You're
Yeah.
above. You're above the playoff contending teams. That's yeah.
Yeah.
The crazy thing. Oh,
Alrighty. Moving on to 21. One of those teams, Ottawa Senators.
yeah, they're 19 for me. Again, crazy.
Yeah, so 7-3 in the last 10, won the last five. The week goes, if I just get it here. So they beat Edmonton 5-3. They only had 16 shots. Very lucky to get that. Um, Buffalo 6-2 win. Good win there. Won a back to back, shutting out Chicago 2-0, keeping them to 19 shots, and then beating Winnipeg 3-2. I guess my not concern for the week, like I would probably say Edmonton is really the big hard game there, and they come out the
Hmm.
win with the win, which was really good. The Winnipeg, I don't know, they've been on a slide for probably a month or something now. They're looking extremely ordinary, so I don't have them in the same category as an Edmonton at this point, but it's still a good win.
Yeah,
But yeah, they've been on a run. They're playing decent hockey, which is more than can be said about the others around them.
yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're 7-3-0, you're kind of doing something right. You're just doing it too late, unfortunately.
Yeah,
All right, 18 for me. I have New Jersey Devils, which again is just absolute insanity that they're this high.
yeah, my 19.
Look, again, same thing they did last week, and just another team in the East that are squandering a perfect opportunity for a playoff spot. They start the week off brilliantly. 4-0 win against the New York Islanders, 6-3 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then they lose 5-2 to the Buffalo Sabres after leading 2-0 and just capitulating in the last period. Um, yeah, I mean, they did the same thing last week. Had two good wins against two decent sides and lose. And similar to what I said about Philly and those games, they beat Buffalo, they beat Ottawa, and all of a sudden they're 2 points out of a playoff spot with a game in hand. It
Mm,
just changes the whole thought
yeah,
process of the season. Like and realistically, they should have beaten Ottawa and they should have beaten Buffalo.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just
Yeah, the
that's
reason I didn't put them above Buffalo is not because they lost to them. It's just they haven't looked good even in their wins. Like
mm,
the Toronto game, honestly, I feel like they're lucky to win that. They were getting outplayed pretty much all game. They,
yeah,
conceded 20 more shots than they gave. Islanders game, they had patches where they just looked ordinary. So,
yeah.
and then
Well,
obviously the Buffalo lost in the third period. So,
do you know what the
basically
big
against the
thing's
Tage
been?
Thompson.
Do you know what the big thing's been lately?
What's
They've had goaltending.
up?
It's actual insanity to think if they had had Jake Allen, and I don't
Well,
rate
yeah,
Allen all that
I, I
highly.
I get it, but they still don't have defending. they,
Oh,
they,
I know, I
they
get
don't
that
have
as
they don't
well.
have a defense, but that
I
is their
get that
problem.
as well. But what they're getting from Allen is what you'd expect to get from any just average goaltender, is just the saves that they should make, and
Mm.
he's making them. And all of a sudden, it's changing those games. And you think back to all the games they've lost this season because of Vanacek or Schmid or Dawes not being, or any goaltender that's been in there that's just not been able to make saves that they should. If Allen was in at that point and they'd pulled a trigger when
Well,
everyone said they needed a
they
goaltender.
couldn't though. We already know they couldn't.
I
But
know, and I
it's
get it,
alright. We'll
but
move
yeah,
on to 17. But yeah, unfortunately, they couldn't make those trades. They just weren't
nah, just
available at the
another
time.
East team squandering their opportunity.
All right, St. Louis Blues 17 outside the top 16. It's kind of my
Yeah, me too.
hard lock for 17 here. They Vegas Golden Knights, they OT lose. They come against Calgary, they're 5-3-1, only having 19 shots, and then they well, I don't know what you would say. They 4-0 blanked by San Jose.
Hmm.
And they kept them to 20 shots, having 15 extra shots. So yeah, like another team that like should be doing better than where they're at. They're what 7-2-1 in the last 10. I feel like they
Hmm.
could have been even better this week going in this playoff run. Squandering that extra point against Vegas also does not help. So decent team, playing well, very solid 17, but it could have been a much better week.
Well, 100%. And again, like talking about teams squandering those opportunities, that 2 points that they've just coughed up against the Sharks, it puts them 3 points behind the Kings, and the
Mm.
Kings aren't playing overly that great at the moment. Um, I really think that position could be up for grabs. But when you lose to a team like the Sharks and drop points, that's that's almost, yeah, that's it. That's you. You're not clutch enough to take that opportunity. And unfortunately, I've really liked the season, but I almost draw the line in them for that Sharks loss. I think that's pretty much done 'em.
All right.
But all right, let's go to 16 and a team that, oh my god, as if they're 16th, the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, you could almost have them off the board at this point.
Oh,
just
look, I mean,
just
if
current form, but yeah.
look, to be honest, if St. Louis beat the Sharks, the Jets are probably out of the top 16. Let's be honest here. They've been very ordinary. They start the week off with a 3-0 loss against the Caps, 4-3 overtime loss against the Oilers, 4-1 loss against the Golden Knights, and a 3-2 loss against the Ottawa Senators. So 0-4. I think they're 3-6-1 in the last 10. This is very last season esque of them. I don't know if you remember, they went from almost top of the Central to almost missing playoffs at the end of last season. Um,
Yeah.
Now they're not going to miss the playoffs this season. Or I don't even think they'll be in a position to miss the playoffs this season. But um, yeah, their form is starting to look very similar, and a few players are starting to look a bit burnt out.
Well, it's shocking how you can go and try and break these like not conceding more than 2 goals records, and then you have this form. It is,
Yeah.
I know it shows how like compact and long hockey seasons are. That
Hmm.
you go through these swings, but it is really big show on how far they were and then how where they've come now.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
all
It's
right,
disappointing.
15 for me. Washington Capitals, a team that just keeps on chugging along.
They're my 14.
So, as we mentioned, 3-0 win against Winnipeg, OT win against Detroit. Then they lose 1-5 to Toronto and Boston in shootout. Toronto also doubling their shots in that game. It's a team that's pretty much competitive in most games. It's not the prettiest hockey, but they're always competing for those 3 periods, and they get the results this week. 5 out of 8 points. It's always going to be good, no matter who your opponents are. Going above 500, and they're just doing what's right to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're taking their opportunity.
Mm,
All right, 15. I've got the Minnesota Wild.
yeah, my 14.
I think they only played 2 games this week,
Yeah.
so not too much to go off of. But they get a 3-1 win against the Sharks, which you'd expect, and a 1-2 OT loss against the Knights. So, 3 from 4 points, the 2 games to go off of. I couldn't really move them up or down, but three
Yeah.
out of 4 points, not terrible.
I was
Although
the
I think the season's done.
I was the same. It was just Winnipeg, jumping Winnipeg. That was basically it there.
Yeah,
Alrighty. 13. Going to a team moving down, LA.
yeah, same here.
And yeah, so playoff race. Look, below 500, weak. They beat Vancouver 3-2, less than 20 shots. Then they go lose 4-1 to Edmonton and 4-2 to Calgary. Once again, having less than 20 shots. So two two games less than 20 shots is not good. They somehow keep Edmonton to 20 shots, but they lose that one 4-1. So yeah, they've been on a slide. I have to remember what their last 10 was. It's still 6-4 in their last
Mhm.
10, but their form hasn't been of best as of recently. Like they had a good week last week, but yeah, they really need to string it together. I still think they make playoffs because of the team they have, but they really got to make sure they solidify that.
Oh, they do, and I think the Blues are going to continue to put pressure on them. But at the end of the day, a 5 point gap with the game in hand is going to be tough to overcome. So I agree with you. I think they'll still make it, but they're not looking fantastic at the right time, unfortunately. All right, 12. Let's get on to the Vegas Golden Knights, starting to
Alrighty.
find some form.
Well, tell me about their week, boy.
Tell you about the week. I mean, what's to say? They get a 2-1 winning overtime winning St. Louis Blues. They lose 4-5 in OT against the Predators. 4-1 win against the Jets and a 2-1 win in overtime against the Wild. So they take 7 of 8 points to the week. But the big thing here is they get the win against the Blues, the win against the Wild. So they were 2 games that if they had lost those, all of a sudden it throws them back in the pack, gives the Blues an extra point, the Wild extra 2 points because obviously the Wild sacrificed their OT point trying to get that win. Um, but yeah, like there were 2 crucial wins in the scheme of things, and it's pretty much secured them a playoff spot now. It'd be very, very hard to see the St. Louis Blues make up 8 points.
Mm,
So yeah, a big win, a big week. Sorry, that's pretty much guaranteed them playoffs. So they've come big at the right time.
yeah, I guess in our predictions from last week, in a sense, I was right and you were wrong, but we'll leave it at that. No, I'm kidding. All right, on to 11. This should be a surprise to some people. I have Florida Panthers, actually. I decided
Oi,
to make the move.
he's kicked him out of the top 10. Oof.
Yeah, I've
I
just
almost did the same
been
thing.
disappointed for probably a month now. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've been holding off. But look, they get a 4-1 win against Philly, but they only have 15 shots. They come against Boston, 4-3 loss. Islanders, 3-2 loss. And then Detroit Red Wings, they go to shootout and they win it in shootout. So every game seems to be close. Obviously, like, I just don't know. I feel like they've looked a little bit discombobulated or something like that since the trade deadline.
Mhm.
Maybe the moves they made affected the lineup, but or the cohesion or chemistry. There's something that has to give there. So hopefully they can string it back to the form they were
Yeah.
before the playoffs start.
Or maybe they're just trying to take it easy until playoffs. They don't want to burn themselves
Yeah,
out. Like you
yeah,
just never know. But they've secured playoffs at the end of the day. But yes, you don't want to go into playoffs with a really, really bad record.
yeah,
That's for sure. All right, 11 for me. I got the Boston Bruins.
yeah. They're my reluctant 10.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I could have pushed them up higher, but I just don't know what to make of them. They get a 4-3 win against the Florida Panthers, lose 3-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning on the back to back, and then get a 3-2 shootout win against the Capitals. So 4 out of 6 points. They're pretty good at the moment. 6-4-0 in the last 10. But yeah, for me, I've just got them sitting around that average playoff team mark. So at the 10, where they're probably not quite a cup contender for my liking. But they're obviously going to be a part of the playoffs. So
Mm.
yeah,
Alrighty, 9 for me. Moving down the Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh no, Tampa Bay Lightning. Sorry, I was
I was like,
wrong. I was
what?
wrong. No,
Bro, you better check your inbox, mate. I think a
actually,
few Leafs fans just sent you
well,
some death
now
threats.
you don't even know if Toronto's moving down. There's only one spot they could move into. But yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning. Moving on up, undefeated this week. I think they were undefeated, weren't they?
They were, yeah,
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 yeah, they're undefeated this week. OT win, that's right. It was OT against Anaheim. Then Boston win 3-1 and 4-1 against Islanders. So decent there. Obviously, the only hiccup there was going to OT against Anaheim. Lucky to get that extra point at the end of it. They've been in decent form, 8-1-1 in the last 10. Won their last three, obviously. Still not super convinced with the team, but with that lineup that they have of those playoff guys, that they can
yeah,
really just string you along.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're a team that they've got the experience, so come playoffs, who knows what's going to happen. Um, but yeah, they're getting hot at the right time. That's sometimes all that matters. All right, number 8, team cooling off a little bit. The Vancouver Canucks.
Ooh, are they on my 7?
Oh, Leafs fans better prepare.
Yes, I do.
um, just fill it in now. No, so the Vancouver
I'll do it,
Canucks,
mate. I'll do it. There we go. There you go, boys. There you go.
they lose 3-2 to the Los Angeles Kings, 3-1 to the Dallas Stars, and that's it. So they go 0-2, playing against two playoff teams. But they have been on a bit of a downward trend, downward spiral. Um, so but they're still, you know, they're still top of the Pacific. I'd expect they're probably gonna win the Pacific, although Edmonton are hot on their trail. Um, but yeah, it's I think for these guys, it's just to see what happens come playoffs. That's really all it is now. So I
Mm.
hope they don't fall too much of a beforehand. I hope they can go in with some form. But they've done the hard work. Now they've just got to sort of pull it together for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I guess my 8, Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'll
Um,
I'll fill it. I'll fill it in. I guess you've already that far. They're my 7.
so look, they start off the week 2-1 loss against Carolina, 6-3 loss against New Jersey, which they played well, but it didn't get the result. Washington 5-1 win, definitely outplaying him there. Then Buffalo 3-0 win there. So look, started off a little bit rough, came back strong. Um, like I said, they played good against New Jersey, just they didn't get the result. And look,
Mm,
that can happen, but that was a little bit of the falter there. They only moved down one, and that's just purely on form on other teams, and that was it. Otherwise, they would
yeah,
have stayed where they were.
lovely. All right, let's keep it on trend with the Canadian teams. Hey, let's go for the Edmonton Oilers, number 6.
All right, well, let's not because they're at 4.
Oh, oh no! What have you done? Can't go that hard on the Oilers, bro. I'll always let you
But
down.
McDavid.
I mean, Evan Bouchard at the moment, mate. He's
Well, yeah,
um, not for his defense, but for his offensive production. Jesus
basic
Christ.
glorified winger. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Look, they start off pretty rough with a 5-3 loss to the Senators, but 36 shots to 16. You wouldn't expect to lose 5-3 too often. 4-3 OT win against the Jets, a 4-1 win against the Los Angeles Kings, and a 6-1 win against the Ducks. So, really strong finish. Um, I think they're in some real red hot form. The question mark really is going to come down to their goaltending situation. Can it stay strong enough, and can their defense, turn up in playoffs? But we all know the McDavid director. I don't mind like the Adam Henrique addition has been really really good for them. as well. I think he's playing some really
That's
good
the type of
hockey.
player they've needed for a long time. But
Yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't career years out of some of their depth players like Fogel as well. So it
exactly. But yeah, I think the addition of Henry just sort of solidifies that sort of middle six, and gives them a penalty kill player. Can utilize him on the power play if needed, although power play need improvement. Um,
hmm,
but yeah, overall, he's just a real solid player that they've been needing. But the big question again, offense has never been the issue with these guys in the playoffs. It's been their defense and their goaltending. So that's still the big question that's out there for me.
all right. Going at number 6, team only winning one game this week. Nashville Predators.
Yeah, they're my fifth.
Yeah, so they get an OT win against Vegas. They get 8-4 by Arizona, and then they 7-4 by Colorado. So a lot of goals conceded, which is the worry there. Granted, they're pretty much in all those games in a sense, going through it, but that is my concern. It's why they dropped down a bit. Still like the way they play, but yeah, you just can't concede that many goals.
Yeah, I think a few of them were empty net goals. That's the one thing I
Oh,
will.
even if you
will
took
say.
empty nets out of it, it's still too many.
Oh yeah, it is. You don't want to be conceding that, man. But that's the one thing that I try to not hang on a team too much. Is if you concede two empty net goals, um, at the end of a game, it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it looks a lot worse, but yeah, look, they're still for me 17 game point streak. Really hard to go too hard on them just for a couple of rough games. Um, but yeah, look, they're going to be a playoff team. And that's really all that matters at this point. They're in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get kicked out. I don't think. I mean, they potentially could, but they'd have to completely shit the bed. So yeah, it's looking good for them. Let's go to number 4. I have the Dallas Stars.
they are my number 3.
Oh,
Yeah, I
you
know.
pushed the fuck.
I know.
Oh,
Yes.
guys, there could yeah, Jesus. I think I know who you've done, and I partly agree with you.
you
If
you may
that's
or
who
may
you've
not
done,
agree with me. You may not.
yeah, that's if you've done.
It might not be the team you think of.
It might not be. Like I'm intrigued here. But yeah, look, Dallas Stars 7 game winning streak. I think they're on. They get a 4-2 win against the Coyotes, 6-3 against the Sharks, 3-1 against the Canucks, and a 3-0 against the Kraken. Not the toughest schedule, I
Yep.
must say,
Yeah, exactly.
but you you can only do what you get pinned up against, and that's what they've done. They're 8-0 in their last 10. Um, and I think they're what equal top of the league, or they're second in the league, or whatever.
Yeah, they're
Um,
second by 1 point.
5 points. So yeah,
They
look,
played an extra game as well. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, they're just doing what they need to do at this point.
yeah,
They're yeah.
they've been one of the
That's
most
all you can say.
consistent teams this season.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why I made the move. I feel like the last few weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, they've just been playing really good form.
Yeah,
Granted, very easy week, but they got the job done pretty easily against every game. There was the Vancouver game in there that was the difficult one, and they still came out
yeah,
with that one pretty easy.
exactly. All
But
right, let's do we need to get a drum roll up for this? Because this
all right,
yeah,
number
this is an
5. Here we
interesting one.
go. Fans hate me. It's the Avs, the Colorado Avalanche. I know.
Oh,
I know.
holy shit!
8-1-1
That's
last 10.
that's not who I thought you were going to do, but okay.
Yes. Yeah, no, I've done it because they are the comeback kings, but that's why I've done it. You can't keep going. That their goaltending is the issue. That's why they
Yep.
keep going under. Obviously, OT win against Pittsburgh, where they did that massive comeback. 2-1 loss against Montreal. They go to shootout, lose against New York Rangers. Then they 7-4 Nashville. So last 2 games are decent, competitive. Um, Going to shootout, a
Mm-hmm.
shootout's a shootout. But yeah, the Montreal loss is the hard one. But yeah, I got to punish a team for constantly doing comebacks. They're really good, they're really strong, but that's the consistency problem I have with them, and that
Yeah,
goaltending is a real big concern.
yeah. And do you know what? I can agree with your point there. The tough part for me is the team at number 3 for me. I can make the same argument for moving them down,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden I'm putting them and Colorado potentially out of the top 5
Yeah.
because of these reasons. Because you're not wrong. Like you can't. Yes, they're doing it, and that's great. But you
Mm.
can't continually do it. It's eventually going to fall apart.
Yeah. Well,
And I guess it'll lead me to my next point of my number 3, which is the New York Rangers.
yeah, my number 2. I didn't move on them. I
And
could,
let's talk about why they've moved up a position for me, but I definitely could have moved them down. Um,
even though they didn't lose a game, but yeah.
they didn't lose a game, and it sounds crazy, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But 6-5 overtime win against the Philadelphia. They conceded 42 shots, only had 27. Then they go 2 days later against the Colorado Avalanche, win 3-2 in shootout, concede 40 and only have 25. Then they go up against the Arizona 8-5, 32 shots apiece. I think that's two empty net goals in that game. But so good win, but you concede 5 goals. If this was just a once off, I would be like, whatever, don't read too much into it. But the amount of times these guys have conceded 40 plus shots
Yep.
and only had mid 20s themselves this season is alarming. And yes, they're winning now, but come playoffs, that might not be the case.
Mm. No, no,
And
very much so. Like, look, they're getting amazing production out of Panarin.
mm,
Career year. Lafreniere's looked amazing on his line. You know, a lot of their top end players are looking good, but they are just leaking shots, which is a
yeah,
problem.
hundred
They
percent.
do have decent goaltending, but look, they conceded what 6 goals in the sense because of OT against Philly. Then
Mhm.
they concede 8 against Arizona. Look, you can discount empty net goals, but that's still 6 goals against Arizona, and that is a 1 goal game. So all
Mhm.
games are very close slash going to OT,
Yeah,
and that is a concern. So they're 2 because look, undefeated for the week, they've been consistent and
they're top of the
the top
league.
top of the league. Like they are playing
Yeah,
really good hockey, but
yeah,
it's like the Avs me. There is a flaw.
yeah.
Um,
That could
a-
be
a-
exploited come playoffs.
yeah. So if they do anything wrong, I could easily move them down, even outside my top 5 pretty quickly just because of that flaw.
Yeah, 100%, hundred
All
percent.
right. And number 1, staying number 1, Carolina Hurricanes. Very consistent team. I would be surprised if people didn't have them at number 1 at this point in the season. So they 2-1 win against Toronto. The one blemish, they get 4-1 loss against Pittsburgh, though they have 17 more shots. They really did outplay them. 4
And it
4
was two
nil.
empty net goals as well.
Yeah,
Just
it was really a 1 goal game.
it's a
Um,
tight game. Yeah.
4-0 win against Detroit, then a 3-0 win against Montreal. So keeping the lower end teams, it's funny to say Detroit a lower end team, but lower end teams goalless, and keeping Toronto to 1 goal, and their only blemish is that Pittsburgh game, which was really
Yep.
close. So
Yep.
look, honestly, most informed team in my opinion. Playing probably the best hockey in my opinion in regards to what I would want to do as a coach and how my
Yep.
team I would want to run my team.
Hmm.
You could probably say their blemish is goaltending in a sense, but they're getting good goaltending at the moment. Um, so probably yeah, easy number 1 for me. I really couldn't have anyone else there.
Yeah, I think that's their weak spot is their goaltending. That's probably an area that could be exploited.
It's
But if
pretty
they
much
get good goaltending,
everyone's team's goal.
well, exactly right.
Weak point
But
at this league.
if yeah, but if they the good thing about them as well though is their defense is protecting their goaltending. So all they need is reasonably good goaltending, and they're going to be okay because unlike a team like the Rangers, they're not conceding 40 goals, 40 shots on their netminder. They're conceding 20s, mid 20s, maybe 30 at most. And and their production's been really really good. So that's one thing I've liked about them. They're defensively sound, they're looking after their goaltender, and they're producing offense as well. So yeah, to me, they're the complete package at the moment. I think they've got the most shutouts since the All Star break and potentially for the entire season. Um, yeah, their defensive game is just amazing, and we know defense is such a big part of playoffs. It's not just about having a massive offensive production. You need defensive, hard, grinding players, and I just think that the Hurricanes have that. Um, the
Mm,
big question for them now is can they get past an Eastern Conference final? That's the only
yeah.
thing that stands in their way.
Yeah, well, we all know that's basically the Stanley Cup is the Eastern Conference Final the last few
Yeah,
years anyway. But yeah, I feel like it's their cup to lose. There's some really big contenders though, with like Dallas, Rangers, Avs, etc.
yeah.
Really knocking on the door. But yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments what your power rankings are, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. But I guess until next time, we'll catch you guys.
See you later, guys.